Cut. Maybe that could be my new entrance. Cut. No, that's kind of the end of things, though, isn't it? Be good though, because it's nice to have a catchphrase. Brucey. Nice to see you nice. Cut. Yeah, so we're back with another fantastic thing for you to look at. I know that you've got many options, and you decided, based on whatever was written for the title or the brilliant thumbnail, you said, I'll have some of that. Maybe you're a subscriber, thank you, who just enjoys this stuff, and I'm delighted. Maybe you're an alien from the future, and you're watching this as a way to understand humanity as it was before you arrived. And if so, and you can understand English, funny how all aliens can understand English in cinema, so maybe it's true. Welcome. One day recently, when I was lounging around, my mind rested on the remembrance of a show from many years ago that made me think of another show from nearly as many years ago. The first show was on Sky, a one-off about a guy of around 30 who had amassed a fortune of £250,000 in his life and now was going to risk it all on the spin of a roulette wheel, choosing either red or black. Sky made an entire hour-long show about this random man and his money. How nervous was he? I didn't watch that intently, but he didn't seem too bothered, annoyingly for Sky. In the end, after many dismal moments, asking his mum what she thought and his cousin by marriage, etc., they finally spun the wheel, and annoyingly, I think he won. So he had £500,000 now. Well done. This recollection then reminded me of the Anton Deck-fronted Red or Black, dreamed up by Simon Cowell, that everyone hated, but they still made 2 series of it. And I thought about all the other terrible Saturday night game shows that get 1 series only. Who makes them? Why are they allowed to keep making them? And what would make for a good Saturday night game show? Discus.
Well, I suppose discus is a competition.
They could do that.
Yeah.
They already do that, though. No, they would get celebrities to throw a discus.
Right, there was that celebrity athletics thing, right? Like a sort of...
They brought that back.
Yeah.
That was not very long ago. So they brought that back, and then it was... They did that in the summer, right? They did that, and nobody watched it, as far as I could tell. I didn't. So that's one person who didn't.
There used to be celebrity ski jumping. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, and everybody broke things.
Yeah, they kept breaking legs.
Yeah, that was really dangerous. I mean, and why did they commission it?
Yeah, I mean it's a boneheaded idea just from an insurance perspective.
I mean, when you're thinking that up, and thinking is a strong word for whatever was going on in that room, but when you're thinking of it, you don't go, well, hang on, ski jumping technically looks difficult. It looks like the kind of thing that would take you a long time to learn safely. We're going to put what could be quite unathletic people onto a ski jump and just say, do it now, do it now. Go on, do it now. And God love them, I mean, they tried, but ski jumping, when not done by a professional, aside from the danger, is really unimpressive because it's somebody falling off a ramp. And even if they land it, they've travelled and we're all meant to...
The danger is what kept it alive, of course. I think that's probably kept the ratings going because people are sadistic in a way, and they hope that someone's going to break every bone in their body.
But do you think that was the program makers thought? They were
Yeah,
like, this
I
is why people will watch
yeah,
it.
Well, I think it's also like, the success of Strictly Come Dancing of just like, okay, so if you can put celebrities into a competition environment of something that's kind of alien but somewhat performative. I bet someone was watching the Winter Olympics and be like, what my favorite part of Winter Olympics was? The ski jump, because that was always the most high stakes. Why don't we put what can we put celebrities into in an Olympic place? Diving, ski jumping, gymnastics. And if we train them like we do at Strictly Come Dancing, how quickly can we get them in shape? And the ones that probably got pushed through are the ones with the stakes, and that was the ones with the high dives and the ski jumps.
Because of course it's emotionally manipulative, like something like Strictly Come Dancing, which is a big Saturday nighter. It's pushing people to the edge of their comfort zone. It's they're doing something really physically difficult, which is going to give great emotional relief for television.
Something you can make a documentary about.
Yeah, something where you can capture something really happening live. Someone breaking down, someone cheating on their partner because they've become so connected to their dance partner because they've experienced something that's probably more real than anything they've experienced in the last 5 years.
But when the lights turn off and the camera's shut down, then they realise, oh no, I've got to have a relationship with this dancer now, and I'm no longer going out with this person I was going out with for years. Was that a wise choice? I mean, admittedly, a bit tangential. Shows like that, when they run for a long time, they lose track of why they exist. So, if you were to talk to me about Strictly Come Dancing, and you would say to me, "Hey, why is this successful? Do you want to?"
Hey, why is this successful?
Right. So if you did that, which you've just done, I'd say to you, and they need to listen, I'd say to you, it's because of the story. There's a story of improvement, right? What we want is people who aren't good at dancing to work really hard and become good at dancing. They have 4 months? About that. 3.5? Yeah, doesn't it end at Christmas, doesn't it? It ends at Christmas. It starts in about September or something like that.
There's a journey.
Yes. So we need to see somebody who isn't good at dancing become good at dancing to a level that we're quite entertained by. But they lose the fog of maybe being too close to it. They lose track of that. And more, I mean, I've not watched it for a long time.
I've never watched it.
No. They now would appear to go, let's just start with people who are good at dancing. And they'll be good at dancing all the way through. And you go, why is that interesting? Like they're handing out 10s in week 3. And you go, well, there's nowhere to go now.
Because they had the magician's wife, didn't they? They had.
How do you know?
Paul Daniels.
We used to have the same agent,
Debbie McGee.
Debbie McGee, and she won, didn't she? But notoriously, she is a trained dancer.
Yeah.
Right. But
So she was going to be good at dancing, wasn't she?
Yeah. So they were like, oh, but she's not as young as she was. Yeah, but it's beneficial to have been a trained dancer, I think, versus someone who never was, even if they were a bit younger.
But it's all just a platform to tell stories, isn't it? Like you don't really buy into that. You don't really buy into Debbie McGee as a dancer. Sure, she can move, she trained, but really what you're buying into is the story of Debbie McGee training to be a dancer with a ballroom dancer. That's it's like people in what's the name of that reality TV show? Made in Chelsea. They apparently behind the scenes would get competitive and try to fake beefs so that they'd get more screen time because the stories are the things that sell, the things that people buy into. It's what X Factor's about, because half the runtime of that show is not the talent competition, it's the documentaries about the people behind the scenes and their struggle through adversity so they can finally get onto the X Factor stage and start singing.
And that brings me back, because it's Simon Cowell related, that brings me back to this Red and Black thing. And now, I never watched that at the time. This is about 10 years ago. It got panned, right? But because it had the iron fist of Cowell, hanging over it, in a velvet glove, they were like 2 series. That it would never have got a second series with the ratings that it had from the first, if anyone else were backing it. And so I watched an episode. I was like, I've never seen this before. I just remembered it, and I remember people hated it. So I went out of my way to watch an episode. And it does the same thing that the music shows do, in that it tries to attach you to a contestant. So it says, oh, what Julie, what's your story, Julie? And I said, well, my mum fell down the stairs, and, she's got a bad leg now, and... It's probably something worse than that. I fell down the stairs, and I've got a bad leg now. So they're like on a crutch. But
the stairs fell down on me.
Yeah, that's something you don't expect. Oh God, that reminds me of an advert. There was an advert once where someone was walking down the stairs, and one of the steps gave way, and I was like, I hope that doesn't happen in my house. But they had this woman on it. Oh, it was so annoying. Because she believed in psychic things. And she was like, I'm psychic. So, and throughout the show, as you whittle people down, you have to choose red and black. And she kept getting it right, which is like so annoying. Because she's going, oh, well, it's because I'm psychic.
Yeah, of course.
Or was it her son is psychic and he kept ringing her and telling her what to do? I think it might have
That's
been
cheating.
that. Even worse. No, it isn't really, because it is chance, or at least it should be, right? But it was. So it was even worse than that, because he was like, my son is so brilliant. And you're like, I think your son's probably a charlatan, which doesn't really reflect well on you, but you love him because, and he's winging it, all of that kind of stuff. So she's getting the phone. Oh, what should I do now, Derek? What should I do? Because this is 10 years ago, and you still had Dereks then, who had mothers that were still alive. You still get Dereks now, but their mothers are dead, I think. And she was like, what should I do? And he was like, oh, it's definitely black this time, Mum. But you didn't have total control over everything, because there would be some kind of stupid stunt, usually at Battersea Power Station, before they'd done it up. Yeah, so just kind of a waste ground, yeah? And they were like, oh, well, some of these cars have engines and some of them don't. 10 red ones, 10 black ones, choose a car and try and start it. And if you can't start it, it doesn't have an engine, you're out. And like all the blacks would be the same and all the reds would be the same. So it wasn't like, and it's so annoying, because she did get eliminated, which is a positive, but it was something she couldn't blame Derek for. And I wanted that moment of realization where she went, maybe my son isn't psychic. Maybe, just Ant and Dec.
So you basically wanted to crush a woman's belief system.
Yeah, but that's good telly.
Very good telly. That's the juice. If you can get that.
That's levels. Yeah, that's levels, because you haven't changed your format. They're following this woman around. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know that, like, they'll have filmed a bunch of stuff, and for people who it didn't work out for, but they are filming her on the basis that she might win, and she's got this psychic son, and wouldn't that be interesting? And the question I'd have for you is, Simon Cowell, with his iron fist, is he sat there going, I want to see if the psychic lady or the lady with the psychic son wins, or is he like me saying, I want to see her take in defeat and doubt her belief system.
I think he's looking at women going, I see this weirdo, I'm going to put her on TV and milk this freak for all of the attention I can possibly afford to put on television so that I can get more ratings, get more advertising time, more money.
Yeah, he probably did that.
I think he's happy either way. I think he's like, win-win.
But it did fail. I mean, it was a failure as a show.
She fails, she looks like
Oh, basically. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
if
versus
she wins,
her, yeah.
question mark, is her son psychic? That's good telly.
Is psychic ability possible?
Yeah.
And that can be his next show, psychic or not. And then like somebody rides like motocross through a crystal ball.
But game shows also have got to be about like whether or not the audience can see themselves doing it. Like Deal or No Deal was based upon the idea of like, I would have done a deal before then.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you know, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is just sort of like, I would have taken the money. Generation Gaming would have been like, I could have made that cake, or you know, it's the thing of like the audience have got to put themselves in there. I mean, even like Stars in Your Eyes used to do the whole documentary thing as well. It's basically a karaoke competition where you can turn to your loved one and go like, you sing Common People well, you could be on that show and do that. They have to be able to see themselves in it, and that's what makes like Britain's Got Talent and X Factor so appealing to so many people, because they can see themselves in their stories and in that position in the competition. Makes people want to sign up and do it.
Here's a beef I've always had, even as a young boy, because I just felt, and ironically, this beef started with me in a show, Saturday night game show, hosted by Paul Daniels. So we're going around in circles here, aren't we? Called Every Second Counts. And my beef with that was that it was not living up to its name, because it could have been doing more game show, and instead it was talking to like the contestants too much. Like it felt like nearly half the show was before anything happened, and you're asking this couple why they were there and who they are and what they would do if they won. And I was like, I don't know them.
Don't care. Yeah.
I don't know who they are. I'll never know who they are. I'm not interested. Play the game, Paul. That would be magic if you did. And but no, we have to know about this. But then at the same time, I mean, having said that and being self-aware, I thought, but I suppose part of the appeal is these people, if we're almost, willing them on. I don't know, you probably need to be a bit kinder than I can be sometimes, but be like, I want to understand them because then I will care about what happens to them. I felt they got the balance wrong. They were too far that way. And I've always felt that there was room for a game show that just cut all, and this would be good Saturday night, because that's what we're discussing, right? They just cut all the fat off, just trimmed all the fat off.
Theme song, challenge.
The theme song is just the word challenge. Challenge.
Challenge, fire. Family
Challenge,
get
fire.
thrown in.
From a cannon.
My question is Saturday night TV dying out because more people actually leave the living room on a Saturday night now? And so it's catering for people who really don't leave the house on a weekend. And if so, is it got to be exciting enough to replace a night out, like an event, like going out for a meal or a party or something? It's got to try and replace that in some way. It's got to be exciting enough. So it's got to be warm and exciting and inviting, and it's got to have some element of glamour about it, because it's trying to replicate that sort of like, nostalgia of Saturday night television being like, what is 7 p.m. on a Saturday night on the television? Because it better be good.
They really G up the audiences, particularly for those shows. I mean, I would think being in the audience for a Saturday night game show
Filmed
would
on
be
a Wednesday.
Exhausting. Yeah, in mid-afternoon.
Constant.
Would be really like, right, really cheer now, guys. You're like, well, make me.
Yeah.
I don't mean that. I don't mean I'm going in like.
No.
But like,
Don't just
you know, I'd be
put
like.
the applause
But
sign
if it's
up.
if
Give me
it's
something to
good,
applause.
if it's I'm not gonna be unhelpful, but earn it a little bit. Yeah, just going. Oh, come on, guys, it needs to be really up. Give me something to react to, mate.
Yeah.
Not just you telling me that this is everything's brilliant, guys, isn't it? I've been to a few things recently, and they give you a drink before. Yeah, they give you a beer.
Yeah.
Not too much, because you know people with weak bladders be in and out all the time, and you know, they can't have that. They certainly can't have anybody pissing themselves.
The warm-up guy, he's important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
but I mean, he's
warm-up
still so he's doing his bit, but it's still that whole. And we really need you to cheer, guys. We really need you to cheer when this thing happens. And I'm like, well, make it good. I mean, make it really like blinding flash. You know, so like
You want Gladiators, don't you?
well, they're bringing that back. I mean, did you know, like did
Again?
do you remember that the first time round? And yeah,
Yeah,
Jet,
the original '90s show. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, Jet, and
And they brought it back
she's
like
the
10
one I
years
remember
ago.
the
I'm
most.
too young.
Yeah, I was good actually. That was good.
Yeah.
They should just do that again. I don't know if
Woodland.
they can.
Well, they brought it back like 10 years ago, and they
Yeah,
turned
it's
it
much
into like
cheaper.
and it was like a water park.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't spend the money. They should have, and it was Sky, ironically. So they could, they could have, but no, they need to. They need to. I don't know if they can, because one of the things about that is they had a really big audience. Yeah, thousands of people.
Yeah, stadium audience.
And they were all going nuts. They were totally into it.
And also, they were physically beating each other. Like
Yeah, they get a lot of injuries.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. Can't really do that now. Not in the same way.
They were strong.
Yeah.
And they had character.
Yeah.
They weren't faking it. Like they were told like you've got to be a wolf, and he was like, right, I better be a wolf.
You've got to
believed it.
knock this person down with this giant foam hand.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on those sticks, right?
Pugil sticks.
Yeah.
Shadow. Yeah. That was a great show.
I mean, on reflection, it was absolutely bonkers that they expected people to come off on the street and then be able to swing from those rings just to get across all those rings to the other side of the platform, let alone get met in the middle by a bodybuilder and like shaken off.
But don't you remember that at the beginning they were at pains to tell you all of the like tests that they'd done on the people? Like you couldn't get on the show unless you'd proven yourself to be really fit and agile. One of the things I always thought, though, I mean, the guys are at a disadvantage, the male contestants, compared to the women, because the women contestants would be roughly the same size as the gladiators.
Right.
But in the guys' case, they were a lot smaller.
Yeah, this was like Ubermensch.
A lot smaller, because the guys were like 18 stone, 6'4", 5", and they'd be like kind of a normal kind of sort of 5'9" Gary.
Gary from the garage.
It was the 90s as well.
Garys,
It was. There's a lot of Garys, yeah. So they'd be like, oh, it's Gary Davis from Chelmsford, and he was 5'9" and
I had
about
2
10 stone
stepdads,
7.
both called Gary.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they still called Gary?
Wouldn't know.
Oh.
Wow.
There was a show though. I don't know if you know the name of it. It was like a family would be invited in, and they would get to choose a thing as their prize. They could have any prize, and they could choose it. Some people chose a holiday. Some people chose a big family new car. Some people chose an extension, or it was or electrical goods. And they would give them like a challenge, and they got a week to learn how to do something. Yeah. They would say it's like the dad had to become really good at cycling across a wire for like 10 meters.
Wait, no,
and he had a week to practice it. And then at the end of the week would be the Saturday night show. And was it hosted by Cilla Black?
Probably.
No, I think it was after that. I do remember. I know what you mean.
And
It
they
was
used
only
to
about
do
10
the
years
thing
ago.
live on television.
Yeah.
And I actually loved that.
Yeah.
I thought there was something really sort of like well spirited about it, and and you'd watch the little documentary video of like, oh, I got home from work at 6 p.m. and I was straight in the garage
They
practicing.
had like CCTVs around the place, didn't they? Of them like training on the thing. They knew about it, wasn't like.
They video the kids and they'd be like, oh yeah, Dad's been practicing every day and he's getting on our nerves a bit, but we want him to win. And
yeah, and they'd all go, yeah.
But this kind of content's not just competing with the stuff that's on TV anymore. It's competing with stuff that's on Netflix, stuff that's on YouTube, that's on TikTok. And like a documentary about a postman going back and practicing on his unicycle is not going to compete next to the latest like TikTok craze. So like they don't have the captive audience that they used to have back in the day. The choice we had when it came to Gladiators, it was either Gladiators or the evening news. Like that was our choice.
I don't know what was on BBC when the Gladiators was on. I really don't. I don't know what was on. They had Blind Date was on before it, which was Cilla Black.
Yeah.
Blind Date with Cilla Black. Yeah. Graham died recently. I remember. I saw that. That was in the Metro. But
1 Foot in the Grave, something like that.
yeah, maybe I think that might have been on a bit later. That was sort of 9:30. Gladiators. Yeah, I don't even know what they had. Who had the Dukes of Hazzard? No, that was before that.
Yeah.
But my point being that this show would not, if it was on today, it wouldn't be competing with Dukes of Hazzard and that.
No.
It's got to compete with Is It Cake on Netflix. It's got to compete with
Does It Blend on
Floor is Lava.
YouTube?
Floor is Lava.
Floor is Lava. Squid Games.
Yeah. Well, that's a drama series though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still.
Although it's
you
being
can
turned
still
into a
look at
real
it,
thing.
can't you?
Saturday night.
It's not their money, particularly if it's ITV. And I think they do actually behave that way a lot. Commissioners, sometimes they go, it's not my money. I would remake Gladiators, and I would spend all the money in the world on it. I'd make sure I was probably at the end of my career. So when I got fired, I'd probably retire anyway. So there's a lot of things have to combine, but I would go, right, we make this and we go so hard. We get 20,000 people in the arena. No, more than that. We book out Old Trafford every week. Man United, like they leave the pitch and like Gladiators come on, and you make it absolutely mental, right? You make it like stuff exploding, even like between games, just like so the audience are like always on edge.
Just terrifying the audience. Terrorizing them.
Yeah, like people like jumping up behind them and like hitting them with stuff. Like you're part of the show, all of this, and this is incidental. It's not even on camera.
Right.
Like you'd have to like go and it's happening over there. You'd have to kind of search for it, and you just make this enormous thing.
And make a disclaimer for people going in. Like if you by buying this ticket, you can consent to being potentially assaulted by a random gladiator.
Oh yeah. But they'd all do it because you would say, look, we won't try and hurt you.
We just will.
We might. That's fair enough.
More danger.
You might get
Stakes. A
story. You might get hurt. We don't want that to happen. We've made contingencies that it doesn't, but it could.
Did you used to get a prize if you got through it?
Gladiators? Yeah, but it's like not much.
Do you know what?
It's just a medal or something.
No, here's what happened. It was like a tournament style system. You went through your original run. If you got through to the end, you went through to the next round. If you got through that round, you got to the final. If
you
got
had to
to
do
the
it
final,
4 or 5 times.
You won a car.
Yes, it was a car.
It was a pickup truck. And it was,
after all that, you get a car.
After all that, after getting beaten by these mastodon people for weeks.
Someone would win the car, though.
People getting knocked out and dragged down and humiliated on public television. Your reward was you get to do it again. And then the reward next time was you get to do it again. And the reward next time was you get a car, which maybe you're probably going to sell off.
When you think about it, the money that they spent, those prizes are terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, the money that went on that show, they're like, we spent 50 grand on a car. Probably not even that much. Here you go.
Yeah.
That was a bit like Going for Gold with Henry Kelly. Do you remember that?
No.
No. Do you know who Henry Kelly is?
No.
He's an Irish guy. He was like a TV presenter a long time ago. Going for Gold. Yeah, anyone old enough? Hans Zimmer did the theme tune
Wow.
as a young man for Going for Gold, which came on after Neighbours, weekday lunchtimes. And it was, hello everybody, I'm Henry Kelly and welcome to Going for Gold.
Bob.
So people who know, they know that was
Can we hear a
that
little
was
bit of the
spot
theme
on.
tune?
Go for it, you'll the best survive. Going for gold, the heat is on, the time is right. It's time for you to play the game. 'Cause people are coming, everyone's trying to be the best that they can when they're going for gold. So like the Hans Zimmer stuff was kind of like low
That
level.
was incredible that you knew that, by the way.
Well, it stays in there. I heard it 100 times. So, but
Because I
with-
can still sing the Gladiator theme song straight away.
it was a
like-
pan-European show, so it's completely unfair because that all the questions were really long and read really quickly in English, and they'd have like people from across Europe who were at a massive disadvantage. Oh, Jan from Germany, you're too slow on that one. Goodbye, kind of thing. It was, oh, nicht, and he'd be off. And so it was always like the English or the Scottish person that won. But they would do rounds and rounds and rounds of that. And in the end, at the very end, they got a holiday to Seoul in South Korea for the Olympics, because that's where they tied in the gold thing, 1988.
Right.
So, but I think what we've agreed, because we should probably wrap it up, because you can have too much fun.
Evidently.
When you're going for gold.
What we've agreed is you need stakes, you definitely need energy,
You need
Stories.
journey.
you need a journey. And I think they're on a hiding to nothing, as you suggest, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. I mean, that's what your job is at the end of the day. Until they make you redundant, which is round the corner, try. And do the best that you can. Because if you do the best that you can, at least when you're eating your 5th bowl of porridge in a row, you'll know that you tried and you did something.
Gave it a go.
All right. Are you still here? I hope so. Now, if you watched that to the end, you probably liked it. So I shouldn't need to ask you to like it, because I think that's a given. So if you've not pressed the button or smashed it, as some people say, do that, because I'm told it's important. If you've got this far and you're like, I didn't like that, I might dislike it, yeah, that's an impression of you. That's what you sound like to everyone else. I would implore you not to dislike it, because I think that puts you on the road to being a better person. All right? Thanks again. Bye.